Good morning, good evening, and welcome to today's webinar about Defender for Office 365 configuration best practices. My name is Pierre, and I'm a security MVP within the CIEM and XDR category, working quite a lot with the MDO product and other Microsoft products as well. And today I welcome Paul to join me.
Hi,
Hello,
Pierre.
Paul.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Senior Product Manager in the Defender for Office 365 space, working on our customer acceleration team, part of the customer experience group.
Cool. And like you heard in the beginning, we have a Q&A available for you. So we have an entire Ninja Cat team available to answer all of your questions. So just shoot them in there.
And if we're lucky, we'll be interrupted by one of my Ninja Cats at some point. She has a knack for hopping in here whenever I have my camera on.
Cool. But before we're diving into the configuration part, let's look at how the protection order and priority looks like in MDO and Exchange Online protection. We have several things or several features helping us to protect our emails and all of the email communication that we are receiving from outside and also inside of our organizations. Paul, let's look at the first user here. We have a legacy custom policy. Let's go with the flow here. We're going from the first top. And let's see, it started to slow down.
Yep.
And we have a verdict.
Yep, we landed on that ML verdict. And just to call out here, we see the X's over some features there. And when we say legacy custom policies, what we're talking about here is an organization who created their configuration and hadn't touched it since they were originally created. They maybe don't fully understand all of the anti-phishing capabilities. They aren't utilizing any of the impersonation protections. And as we'll see here in a moment, not using safe attachments or any of the safe links capabilities to detonate linked content or to detonate the URLs.
Exactly. So let's run this through and it will land in the junk folder for the user.
And in this case, it's because we only detected junk on it because that is through our ML analysis, because that's the only protection that is applying to this user at the moment.
And for many users,
there's more.
Yeah, exactly. And for many end users, the junk mail folder is like a secondary inbox, right?
Right.
Let's jump to user B, where we have the strict preset policy configured.
And this is the same message coming in.
Oh, we got a DIMP, domain impersonation.
Yep. So first hit here, we see that it came from Comptoso with a displaced character there, two displaced characters really. The example user here is in contoso.com, and they're protecting their own domain. So yeah, first off, a domain impersonation hit.
Let's follow the email, and yeah, we got the same verdict here for the machine learning model as well.
Yep. So ML.
And we got a malware as well inside of the email. Okay, so, and because we are using the strict preset policy, and we will see that later on in this webinar, the destination will be quarantine for the email.
And I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
My
worries.
VPN decided to play some tricks with me here. Gotta love the demo gods.
Exactly. No, I just told the audience that we got a verdict for the malware for the same email, and
Mhm.
then because we are using the strict preset policy, the destination for the email will be to the end user's quarantine.
Absolutely. Yep. And we see here that for that same message, that this message not only did it still get the same spam verdict, but now we also see that it has a phish verdict and that malware verdict. So this really illustrates just how impactful the preset policies are, and we'll dig into that a little later.
Yeah. And we cannot forget the SAP, right? So for the legacy custom policy for the user A, we now have a 0-hour auto purge signal as well. How does that work, Paul?
Magic. I do believe
Magic.
that there are some gremlins involved in it. No. So ZAP, 0-hour auto purge, this is also a very important component. Whenever we receive a signal that something was malicious or otherwise bad after the fact, we can utilize what we call ZAP, 0-hour auto purge, to remove those messages that were delivered from a user's mailbox. So in this case, the user wouldn't have been protected due to the lack of configuration on the applicable policies here ahead of time, but because this was deemed a malicious message, as the signals are received, ZAP will take action and remove this message from the user's mailbox. So ZAP is definitely still an important component that we recommend everybody utilize to help, along with things like error and investigations, to help remediate issues or to remediate messages that could be bad after the fact.
And it's so important to have that configured, and also for the other Defender products where we have the attack disruption feature, because MDO does talk to the other Defender products, right? To be able to remove emails and do disrupt the attack. Cool. Now that we have seen the flow, we also have some policies here, right, Paul? Where the first hit wins.
That is correct. So one thing to note here, and this is one that we do still see pop up pretty often. Customers are a little confused with how the policy selection works. We go down the list in priority, and once an associated user is tagged in a policy, we will go ahead and act on that policy. So here, user A, we see that they are associated with one of 3 safe links policies, one of 5 anti-malware, one anti-phish, one of 2 safe attachments, and one of 5 anti-spam. So through this list here, we see that safe links, they are most applicable to the second one. We see that they hit the second one and we stop evaluating the other policies.
Yeah.
Anti-malware, we saw that they hit the 4th one. We don't go any further. Anti-phish, they were associated with the top one, so we don't go any further, and so on.
Exactly. So it's very important to understand how all of the policy works and what hits first, basically, with all of the policies. And by that, we have all of the different types of policies listed here in a random order. We have custom policies, 0, 1, and too many. We also have the preset configuration with strict and standard, but also the default policy and the built-in protection. Should we do a small test on ourselves, Paul?
Sure, why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah, which one comes last? Let's start with that.
That would be default / built-in.
Oh, so that one comes last, yeah.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the top one, is that the custom policy 0?
Nope, that would be strict preset followed by the standard preset.
Exactly. So we have the strict one that wins everything, and then the standard preset. So all of the preset wins basically. Oh, and then the custom policy comes. So
Yep.
the first priority for that, or the priority 0, and then 1, and then all of the other. Oh, evaluation preset. If we are starting to evaluate the MDO
Yes,
products,
sir.
that comes.
Yes, sir. If you're running it in evaluation mode, that comes after the custom policy evaluations.
We don't want to break anything when we do
Precisely.
the
Precisely.
evaluation.
And then, of course, the default policy and the built-in protection. And much to your point a moment ago, the custom policies, you do have the ability to sort them. The 0 is, of course, going to be the highest priority. 1 is going to be next, and so on. So if you are not using the preset policies, note that the custom policy with the 0 is going to be the highest priority. So if you have all of your domains in the policy that's 0, we're going to stop there. If you try to create another policy that has a priority of 1 that's scoped to a very specific group of users, well, they've already hit the priority 0 policy, so they won't be evaluated for policy 1. So realistically, you can assign users to one of however many policies you want, but we will only act on the first one that we hit where they fit. So
Right.
if you have them in every policy here in this list, we're going to hit them against strict, and we're not going to evaluate any further.
Yeah. And then if they are in standard, we will hit that perhaps, and then go down the list.
That is correct.
Yeah. So it's very important to understand how the processing order works for all of the policies if we are configuring those. But we have some pitfalls and caveats that we will look into later on here. All of the verdicts. So this is also a quick ask. Which one comes first? We have the description and order not filled in yet. We have that in the slide coming up. But we have domain impersonation, phish, spam, malware, high confidence. What is it? High confidence. Phish.
High confidence phish, yes, sir.
Exactly. Bulk, spoof. We have user impersonation, and the one on top of that, GIMP, is the graph impersonation, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
the mailbox intelligence,
Yeah.
aka personal graph impersonation. Yes, sir.
And then the high confidence spam. I would say, if I'm guessing, high confidence stuff comes first. Am I wrong?
It's pretty high on the list, yeah. Here we are. Yes. So we're going to go malware first. Anything that gets. So one thing to note is that when a message comes in, we're going to run it through the whole stack. So much like we saw with the user A, user B scenario a little earlier, we're going to run it through the whole stack. If we see something gets a malware hit, we're not going to stop at just that. It could get malware, it could get spam, it could get phish, it could get everything. Well, except for maybe good, right? But we're going to run through the stack, and then whatever the finding is the action that we're going to take. So from the top, malware is going to be the most important, followed by high confidence phish, followed by phish, followed by high confidence spam, followed by spoof, followed by user impersonation, followed by domain impersonation, followed by mailbox intelligence or personal graph, then spam, then bulk. If we detect one of these, we'll take action on it based on whatever the policy is set to act on. And if we don't find any of these, well, then it doesn't have any category and it'll be delivered
Exactly.
to the inbox.
The last one there. So yeah, we will also see some pitfalls about the malware, because as we see here, that's the first order looking into that. And when we will look into quarantine policies later on. We cannot, as an end user, release those emails by ourselves. So that's also one thing to note about, but we will talk about that later on as well. We have a short link, aka.ms/mdoy, that will explain this even more in detail.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So Paul, what's this about?
So when we think about your policies, about your configuration, the end result is going to be greater than just the policies themselves. You have to also consider the configuration of your tenant, because there are settings that are enabled at the tenant level, not just at your policy levels. There are things that you configure within Exchange Online proper that will potentially impact delivery of messages, and the user, right? The user's actions with their email, how they approach their email, how they are managing their own safe sender list, blocked sender list, that sort of thing. So when we think about it from that context, yes, policy is a big part of it, but there are other pieces that fit into the whole picture.
And today we are in the land of policy and tenant, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We're talking about that and some of the overall best practices and some gotcha scenarios that you might run into.
Yeah. So let's dive into preset versus the custom policy. I know that you at Microsoft are very pushy, push against more to use the preset policies, because, well, they align to everything new. We don't have to think almost, but there are so many customers out there that doesn't use this in one way or another reason. Why do we have preset policies?
Well, the preset policies are really helpful. They, whenever we roll out new features or make enhancements, we update them to align with those new features, to align with those enhancements, those new best practices. We do that for you automatically. So you don't have to go in and worry about updating your policies to ensure that they are properly aligned.
Yeah.
It really takes some of the guesswork out of needing to go ahead and doing any sort of impact analysis against your existing policy configuration. And it's aligned with our best practices. So
yeah,
out of the box, you just turn it in, you assign it to your user base, and you're all set.
Yes. We will look into the configuration of that soon as well here. Then we have custom policies if we want to be more granular in our settings. But yeah, I do see this a lot. We also added that in the last bullet here, most common deployment. But when we do that configuration to start with, we really need to know what each of the boxes means, right? Each of the every drop down, what that really means, because when we are setting up a new custom policy, they are quite a low bar, right?
This is true, yes. So the one example I can think of is if you create a new anti-spam policy, the default action or the default threshold for bulk is 7. We recommend the standard is set to 6, and the strict is set to 5. So we do recommend a tighter control than what is available in most of the default policy, or in most of the policies as you create them, the default settings when you create them.
And then the things that we do see, at least where I see a lot of customers using, or they haven't configured anything, we have the built-in protection as well, helping us.
Correct.
In some levels or cases.
That's correct. Yeah. So we have the built-in protection, and we note it here as a catch-all for safe links and safe attachments.
Yeah.
They're similar in spirit to a default policy. We have the default policies for the anti-whatever protections, but the default policies you can actually adjust a little bit. Well, you can adjust everything with them, really. So if you wanted to just update the default policy and have it be your baseline for your whole organization, you want to have it align with whatever your security requirements are, great, go for it. Recommended to add in additional policies as necessary, that if you need to scope them up by department or location, region, what have you. But really, the preset policies are the ones that we strongly recommend. The built-in policies are a little different than the default ones, in that they aren't adjustable. So they don't work like a default policy in that regard. They are indeed just a base catch-all level of protection as it relates to safe attachments and safe links.
Exactly. So yeah, how could the flow be for a customer that wants to test things out, doing a custom policy, or even start with a preset policy and scope that to a specific group or user?
Exactly. Scope it to your pilot group, your pilot users, whatever, however you're doing it, right? That is part of our migration guide as well. Scope the policies that you're testing or that you're piloting against a pilot group of users.
And it's not just set and forget. We need to work with it, just as we have been talking about the last webinar that we did in the SecOps area. We need to work with the policies as well, and perhaps with the security admins who do the policies to align.
Absolutely.
Going into, well, we touched on it, policy and scoping. So let's look into some of the pitfalls that we have here.
Yes, we have some pitfalls and some considerations here for you.
But here, Paul, we do see that we have this picture here from the portal. We want to include some of the users, groups, and domains. Often we just add all of our custom domains that we have enabled in the Office 365. But maybe we're not reading the and word
right
between all of the boxes here.
That's correct. Yeah. So one of the notes here is that we see this a lot still with customers configuring new policies. These, when you include your users, when you scope your policies to specific, recipients, better term, these are ands. So in this case, the users, we've picked out Adele, Ben, Dan, Diego, and Alan, and we've picked out the group executives, and we picked out the bootcamp domain. So being that these are ands, these are going to be inclusive. So Adele, Ben, Dan, Diego, and Alan, they will be protected if they are also in the executives group, and if they are in the MDO Bootcamp domain.
Yeah.
So definitely review if you have any of your policies set up like this. This will cause problems for your protection if you're unaware of this. I'm sure that there are a number of scenarios out there where this is what a customer wants to use, but more often than not, whenever I work with a customer who has this set up, they're, oh, I didn't realize that. So definitely keep that in mind. The other note that I will share here is that the exclusion list does work as an OR. So if you have your full domain set up as the include, but then you want to exclude specific users or specific groups, you can add those each individually to the list, but only in the exclusions.
Exactly. So, for instance, if Adele moves out from the executives group, but she's still in this policy, she wouldn't be affected or included in this policy.
Correct.
So keeping track of the group membership as well could be some hard things to accomplish. Okay.
Correct. All right,
Also,
so this is one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking a little bit about verdict actions. When you think of a message that comes in as either spam or phish or high confidence phish, you control where that goes through the anti-spam policy. So today, if you wanted to adjust and you wanted all of your phish verdicts for your custom policies to be sent to quarantine instead of junk mail folder, if you have an older policy set up, you would go in and you would change them in the anti-spam policy. It's not in the anti-phish policy. The anti-phish policies, they do have the option to control where you're delivering or how you're acting on messages that are caught by any of the impersonation capabilities. So the domain impersonation, user impersonation, mailbox intelligence or graph impersonation, spoof intelligence, if we detect something as spoof, and DMARC, P equal actions. By default, as long as you have on or DMARC enabled, P equals quarantine, messages will be quarantined, but you can send them to junk if you prefer. Similarly with P equals reject, the default will be to reject them, but you can change it to have them delivered to the quarantine if you desire. I do have a star next to the high confidence phish. High confidence phish messages are always going to be quarantined. I do want to point out that that will be different if you are sitting behind a third-party service. If you have a third party in front of us as the MX, and if you're utilizing any sort of overrides through transport rule or allowed sender in the allowed senders list of an anti-spam policy, those messages you will have the option to override to either deliver to junk or to allow to be delivered to the inbox based on that override. Anything else that you'd like to add to that, Pierre?
No, keeping track of the transport rules or mail flow rules as well, so we don't alter those policies. So yeah, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was also looking at a question here. Yeah, if you have a transport rule in place to allow from, say, fabricam.com and you're sitting behind a third-party service, messages coming in from fabricam.com, if you have it set with the set SCL -1 transport rule, then yes, those will be delivered to the inbox. But if, for example, you're sitting behind that third party and you don't want to send high confidence phish to quarantine, you can send those to junk as well.
Yeah.
You can still respect the verdict, but maybe you're just not quarantining those messages.
Exactly. So we have been talking about quarantine quite a lot. So let's dive into the policy section of quarantines. There are quite a lot of things to configure here as well. We can adjust how the messages will look like if we have the notification enabled for our quarantine for the end users. So we can configure it and adjust the display name, the sender address, disclaimer, and also the language for the email to be sent to the end user. I like to set the spam notification every 4 hours because I think that's a good practice for the end users. I know some of the end users want to be notified directly, but yeah, that's not the case here, right?
This is true. This is true.
And I think the default setting is once per day. So yeah, you can adjust that within the 4-hour range instead. And we have a lot of permissions as well for the quarantine policy, where what the end user can do with the email that have been landed in a quarantine. So we have the allow sender, the block sender, delete the message, preview the message, release or request a release from the administrator. We
That's
have an
correct.
asterisk or a star for allow sender, because this acts a little bit different, right, Paul?
This is true. Yeah, the allow sender will allow. Well, first, working with allow sender or block sender, it will add those entries to your allowed sender list, your block sender list, the same one that you manage within Outlook. So if you manage it through the quarantine, it will also, they'll be visible there as well. But the allowed senders will effectively bypass the a lot of the checks that we have in place. It's going to overlook the spam findings. It's going to overlook low confidence phish. It's going to overlook spoofing and impersonation findings. So really, it only comes down to malware and high confidence phish verdicts that that will still be respected. So certainly use that with strong consideration before adding to your trusted list.
I know you have documented on Microsoft Learn that how you can prevent users from using that with group policy, for instance. So yeah, we can as administrator handle that or manage that. But quarantine policies are also looking into the preset and custom policies that we are setting, and the preset will always win in this case as well, because we saw the order at the beginning. The preset will also use the default quarantine policies. We have 3 or 4 of them based on when your tenant was created. So admin only access policy, default full access policy, default full access with notification policy, meaning that we have end user notification enabled on that policy, and also the last one, notification enabled policy. Paul, we see some differences in the anti-malware and anti-spam and in regards to the preset configuration policies, where anti-malware is always admin only access policy. And that's why we have as we saw, all of the transport categories that the malware wins.
Correct. And it's the same with the high confidence phish as well.
Yeah, exactly. So when a user says to an analyst, hey, I didn't get this email, and you can see why, because it's only administrators that can help the user there to look into that email and release it if necessary.
Correct.
And the user will not be notified, because I think in that policy we have not checked in the notification.
That is correct. Yes, in this case, that is how that works. If you need the option to enable it for your users, you can of course create a custom quarantine policy that will also require creating custom anti-malware and anti-spam policies. It is something that, well, I know a couple of people trying to maybe push to get some more options on controlling the options that are available for the quarantine policies with the preset protection policies. So we'll see if we can't make some magic happen there.
Yeah, let's hope that, because end users want their emails, right?
They do.
Or at least be notified about it. I mean,
exactly.
And then take actions on it. I think it's a good practice to say, hey, I got this high confidence fish, perhaps. Let's take that as an example. And the end users got the notification that they have an email in that, but they cannot release it by themselves. They need to request that email to be released, because hey, you Microsoft have been checking the emails and classify that email as high confidence fish. So it's some fishy about it.
Right.
So yeah, let's see what the future holds. You talked about creating a new policy. I think this is a picture from the anti-spam custom policy setup, where we can have the different types of quarantine policies.
Yes, sir. So as you can see, you as soon as you select quarantine message as the action, it opens up a new drop-down, so you can select the quarantine policy for those actions. So here, if you so desire, you can select you can select one policy for phishing that allows them to request a release, but for spam or high confidence spam, you can set one that allows them to release them themselves, them being the users, of course, the recipients.
Exactly, and I have done trying to do some naming convention here.
Sure, I see
my
that.
quarantine policy, so it's easier to understand which one to select when you're in this blade. So yeah, we do have the same for safe attachments and safe links and anti-star policies. Cool. Let's move on to outbound anti-spam, because we don't want any users to be compromised. We are trying to hinder all of the adversaries as much as possible, but it could happen, right? Everything is not 100% secure. So doing this configuration to limit the outbound email and block the user to send more emails, I think that's a good practice, and we see the standard and strict preset configuration, what type of values they have is, and if it's too high for your org, right, Paul, we can do our own policy for that, a custom policy.
That is correct. One thing I also wanted to share is that if in the outbound anti-spam policies, you can also enable options to be notified of whenever a user is sending a suspicious message, that you can have a copy of the message put into a have the message be BCC'd to a specific mailbox so that you can do an investigation if need be.
Exactly. Looking into the built-in protection here, Paul, what do we have to say about that?
Well, we talked about it a little bit already. It's an always-on protection policy for your safe attachments and safe links. Similar in spirit to the default policy. It is enabled by default. No administrative control or no administrative action is required. but it's not adjustable. So it's a little more rigid than your anti-whatever default policies. We recommend that you use an intentional configuration. Work with the preset policies or with a custom policy instead, because again, these are really just the baseline protections. You get better protection with a policy you set yourself, or with one that aligns to our best practices. And finally, I will note that you can opt out of BIP by excluding users or groups or what have you from the policies. But it's something that we really don't recommend because, again, well, it is a baseline. It is a bare minimum level of protection. So certainly recommend just having the intentional configurations, but keeping this as a just in case.
Exactly. It doesn't hurt to have it.
Precisely.
Yeah. So why not? It's at the bottom of the ordering as well, as we looked at in the first slides. So,
exactly. Yeah. As long as you have a configuration in place or a policy in place for safe links and safe attachments, your users will probably never be impacted by BIP.
Yeah. So looking into creating our own default policy for SafeStar.
Yeah, and this is one that was released, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or so, year and a half, something. Lost track of time in this job. You can create your own default policy for safe attachments and safe links by creating a new policy and not scoping it. That may sound really strange, but you can absolutely do this for safe links and safe attachments. Just create it, leave the scope as blank, and it will apply to the whole domain or the whole tenant. All recipients within the tenant will be protected by that policy. But keep in mind that even though this is a default policy that you're creating, you still have the policy order to manage here. You're making this new policy, but unlike the actual default policies, those are always at the bottom. This one, make sure that it's not priority 0. If you have it at priority 0 and you have more targeted policies beneath it, they're never going to win. So have this one be as low a priority custom policy as possible.
And I also see the exclude part. Could that be for some, I don't know, system mailboxes or entities, other system like?
Sure. Absolutely. Any you have a mailbox for, reporting purposes or to handle customer support, that sort of thing. You can always tick that to exclude those recipients from this policy.
And then diving into safe links even more, we have quite a lot of checkboxes to understand.
Indeed we do. Indeed we do. Just a couple of considerations here for safe links. First is consider using the wait for URL scanning to complete before delivering the message, because if you do that, the message will be delivered after we know that the links are good to go. If the link is being checked and the message is being delivered, the user clicks the link, they're going to get the block page saying, hey, we're still checking this link. That's frustrating for users. So tick the box to wait for it to properly review the URL, detonate the URL as necessary. Makes life easier for everybody. The other one that I would recommend is if you're really only using Outlook for email, also consider the do not rewrite URLs, do checks via SafeLinks API only. This will not rewrite the URLs. This will just do the checks via API. The benefit here is that if someone goes ahead and copies a link out of their email, I don't know, I'm sure many of you have seen this in the past. You copy the URL out of the email, and it's that long rewritten URL, right? the protection.outlook.com URL. If you paste that into like a Word document or you put it onto a SharePoint page or something, that is the rewritten URL. I mean, it'll get you where you need to be, but
Exactly.
anytime it's clicked by a different user, well, it's the URL that was rewritten for you. So it's always going to be written, checked as if it was against you. So if you're a strictly Outlook shop, definitely consider rolling with that. It might make life easier for your SOC and for your users. And don't forget to enable Teams and Office 365 apps protection. We did do a lot of enhancements for Teams that we announced here just this past March. And I know that there have been a couple of Ninja shows from Heike, friend of the show, where they've talked about the Teams protection, both when it was in preview and after most of these have gone GA. So definitely check those out and see if we can't get another one of these community sessions on the books for Teams protection in the near future.
Exactly. I think we have the link for that Ninja show by the end.
Sure.
End of slides. But yeah, Teams and links. Where do we send links? Yeah, through Teams. So
indeed.
So why not? Perhaps we're not sending so much attachments through Teams, but well, we do send links in that as well. So why not have security enabled for that as well through the safe attachments policy? But Paul, the dynamic delivery, is that a good thing for the end user? What do you think?
No, avoid that as much as possible. We know that there are some people who live and die by email just being there as soon as possible, but there are a number of caveats. First is, if they want to look at the attachment that they just received, they're not going to be able to see it. They will see an abbreviated snapshot of it. And it may not be a big deal if the attachment originally is a PDF or if it's a Word document, but when you're thinking about Excel files, it's problematic. The other consideration is if you're still in a hybrid deployment, dynamic delivery doesn't work on a hybrid deployment. Those messages do need to wait to be fully detonated before delivery. Another one is if you receive the message with the stub before the attachment has been completely checked, and you forward it to somebody else, that forward is only going to get the stub. They're not going to get the full end result attachment.
Yeah, end users they are fast when it comes to their inbox. So yeah, but we also have the ability to prevent the users from downloading malicious files that have been uploaded to SharePoint Online or OneDrive or Teams as well through this command. So check out if you have that enabled in your tenant with get SBO tenant. But in this case, to set that and prevent the users, you need to use the set SBO tenant and the parameter disallow infected file download to true. We can also create an alert policy if we are detecting those files or Microsoft detects those files through the Defender portal, through the alert policies section there. So the activity will be common user activities and then select the detect malware in file. And then you can get the email notification when that happens. So alert policies, I do recommend to look into all of the alert policies, because I do believe their default email will be to the tenant admins. So check that out to configure that correctly. Then priority account protection. Well, we have a lot of accounts that needs more protections. So we can tag those, right, Paul? It doesn't need to be CEOs or C-level executives. It could be other accounts as well that we see that needs to be more protected.
Correct. Yeah. So it is a differentiated level of protection. It's really geared at executive people. The mail habits really of executives or VIPs, really kind of made with the C-suite in mind, or your high-level company management folks. But it is also good for your highly targeted individuals. And really, it is it's an additional layer of machine learning on top of our existing anti-phish and anti-spam protections. So it looks for things that are geared more towards that audience.
Mm. So increase the security for those accounts, and also not enable, disable the legacy authentication protocols and all of that, and
Correct.
perhaps leaning more into the strict preset policy for those groups, and also, yeah, we have a large list there, but train the users with attack simulation and perhaps some articles or links so they can train to be more, so they can see the emails that are bad.
Absolutely.
For them.
Absolutely.
I see the time flies, so let's move on. It's so fun, this.
Yes.
Impersonation.
Yes. So impersonation. Impersonation. It's more than just replaced or displaced characters. The implementation of it is a multi-pass algorithm. We're looking for replaced characters. We're looking for distance of that string between characters, padded between other characters, and the string itself from sources that aren't who they say they are, right? I will say that there can be false positives if you have any common names or common terms in domains. This will trigger. Pretty often you'll see it with personal emails. You have your CEO, or a new C-level person who comes to the company. You add them to the impersonated senders list. They try to send themselves an email, and they have the same email address from Outlook or Gmail or Yahoo, and hey, I didn't get it. What happened? Well, it's because you're impersonating yourself. We have entered some newer ML to help with this, and it does also look at regular interaction with the sending source to help weed out some of those false positives. Anti-phish policies also have their own separate trusted senders list, and that's there only for being able to override the impersonation and spoof findings. And this is something that is going to be very, very helpful if you're ever in a merger or divestiture sort of situation, right? You'll want to add each other's organization domains to that list. And when we think of domain impersonation, you have a list of 50 domains that you can add. You also, if you tick the box to include domains I own, that will also include up to 50. If you have a large list of accepted domains, recommended that you go ahead and you pick up to 50 of them that are the most important to you. But note for that, for the domains I own piece, it's really based on the organization domain. So contoso.com is Contoso, right? So you really only need to add contoso.com for your accepted domain, and it will also protect against any subdomains or domains that have a different top level domain, .net, .co.uk, etc. And the way the mailbox intelligence and personal graph works is it's based on recent and regular communication. So you get messages, you communicate with Bob White at fabricam.com on a weekly basis, and now you start getting emails from Bob White at Yahoo. Well, we're going to say that's suspicious.
Yeah. Exactly. But what happens if we're using any third party before MDO? We have something before in the
Yeah,
MX.
we do. And I will pick up my pace a little bit here. I know that it's we're at the hour, so anybody who has to drop, we are going to continue recording here. We do work in a defense in-depth model, and it works quite well, provided you're following our recommendations. The way it works best is if we're sitting behind a separate product that would be your MX host, or even a string of multiple products in front of us if you're maybe still in a hybrid environment. As long as we are behind somebody else, you can utilize enhanced filtering for connectors, also known as skip list, and we will skip over the IPs that you enter into that list to not have messages coming from those sources be considered spoof. So that message coming from Yahoo will look at the true sender if your outermost IP or your MX host has an IP of, I don't know, 10.12.13.14. As long as that's in that skip list, we will skip over that IP to look at the true sending IP, which hopefully would be associated with Yahoo. Provided that's the case, we'll allow the message in, we'll evaluate it through the rest of the stack, and take action as appropriate. One of the things that was problematic previously was enhanced filtering did not work very well if you had DKIM in the mix and you were rewriting messages at that outermost layer. So if you were editing the message body, thus breaking the DKIM signature from the sender, it would still be considered spoof. We fixed this, or we added a workaround, I should say, last summer. So you can get rid of those set SCL -1 transport rules if that's why you had them in place. We still recommend that you move any actions that modify a message body to MDO, such as URL rewriting or adding in any sort of awareness, sender tips, disclaimers, that sort of thing. We recommend you do it at our layer because it does make things easier for us. But on top of enhanced filtering, ARC works even better if your vendor supports it. ARC will take the original authentication findings of a message, wrap them up into a new header, sign them, and send them on into the header of the message to us. And provided we can decipher that detail by looking at the sender's or the ARC signer's detail, as long as we can look it up, verify the signature, we can honor that authentication detail. Routing out and back in is harder though, for a number of reasons. First is messages are going to be counted twice. When we receive it the first time, it gets one message ID. When it comes back in from that other third party, it gets a second message ID. So any message that you need to track from A to Z, you're going to have to look for twice. Messages returning from the third party will likely fail email auth. So enhanced filtering won't work here. You would need to utilize some sort of a workaround, such as a transport rule to set that SCL -1, or you can work with the spoofed senders pairs in the TABL tenant allow block list to help override that. But for MDO to act on an email, the action must be a quarantine and it must happen on the initial receipt of the message. Quarantine will force everything to be checked prior to it being routed out to the third party and then back in. The problem there is that when we route it out, unless we quarantine it, when it comes back in, we can't guarantee that the original verdict that we had will remain the same, partially due to any modifications from that other service, and because we need to override something there, if at least the spoof detail, if not more, if you're using a transport rule. And then the final note here is that when you do that, it does impact our machine learning stack. It can negatively impact the machine learning stack because we're seeing all these messages coming into your tenant off of a set of IPs, and we're now over time saying, hey, all of these IPs are good. So the machine learning is going to inherently start trusting those IPs based on certain content. And suddenly you may find yourself with malicious content being delivered to your users inadvertently. And I don't say that that is something that does happen, but it's machine learning. It's something that could happen. So it's it can be problematic.
Yeah. I think we have a link as well, looking into this in more detail, how to use third-party email security.
Indeed, we do, and we'll have that link in the on our wrap-up slide for you.
Yeah, we have some tools to help us maintain this type of or this level of security as well in Defender for Office. We have it's not brand new, but almost new, the configuration analyzer. So we can look into how our environment would look like if we are using the standard or preset configuration. So we can apply those recommendations with a one-click if we want to. We also have the drift analysis and history, what has been happening to this policy, who changed that, so we can see that as well.
And don't forget to turn on auditing. Hopefully you already have it enabled for your tenant. Hopefully it was one of the first things you did as soon as you got your tenant.
Yeah. Look into that right away. But we also have the community tools, Orca, developed by Microsoft product managers. So it's not an official tool, but it's very, very handy. So it's a PowerShell module that you install and then run, log into your tenant with appropriate permissions like global read as a least privilege, and then run that module to get this HTML report that you can save and send out to anyone who wants to know how things looks like. You can also export it in JSON format if you want to. The best thing about this Orca tool is that you will see the current configuration, but also how you can improve your MDO configuration with tips and tricks.
Absolutely.
So it's quite easy, right, Paul, to install it. You go into PowerShell, install module Orca, and then the scope that you want to install it, if it's all users or the current user, and then just run the get Orca report, and it will spit out a report in the path that you run the command, and then you can see something like this for a spam action. So spam action set to move messages to junk mail folder or quarantine. And in this environment, we see that I have standard preset policy enabled, but also the strict. So we see the action is moved to junk email folder for the standard and quarantine for the strict preset policy. It's very, very cool module to keep track of. But we also have other tools within the Defender XDR portal. As we see here, we have the spoof intelligence insight, giving us more intel, basically. So looking into spoof, we also have the impersonation as well, looking into all of the domains and also user impersonation. So we have those two tabs there, domains and users. So you can use that to avoid false negatives or false positives in your environment. Do you want to add something there, Paul, or should we go and recap?
No. I mean, that's pretty solid stuff. They're really good tools specific to what their needs are, right, for impersonation and spoof. So yeah, let's do it.
Look into all of those reports that we have in the Defender portal. So, Paul, we have reviewed the order and the policy priority, looking into preset and custom policies in depth, I would say. Looking into the built-in protection or BIP. We have looked into all of the common pitfalls, also looked into some of the recommendations, best practices and considerations. Keeping track of that configuration is critical for us in all of the security posture. And like we said in the SecOps webinar, nothing is 100%.
That is correct. Don't forget to operationalize. We provide many tools for SecOps investigation and response. So check out the MDO SecOps guide and also check out that YouTube video. That is the session that Pierre did with my colleague Mahesh earlier this year, discussing Defender for Office 365 from a SecOps perspective. Really, really good content there.
Cool. And we have a lot of links.
Yes,
for you.
We do. Yes, we do. We pulled a number of them here. So first is the step-by-step protection in MDO. This is really the first couple of slides that we went through. It explains that, as does MDOY, goes through the stack and the priorities. Email Basics is a 5-part blog post, or a 5-part blog post series, I guess, explaining the different protection levels and configuration recommendations from folks in the supportability group for MDO. Next, we have the Defense in Depth guide. It's a side-by-side guide. There's a whole series of side-by-side guides that are really helpful, really quick reads. Integrating additional security services with Microsoft 365. This is also related to the Defense in Depth discussion that we had earlier, talking about the options that are best or easiest for us and the ones that are more challenging and require more attention from you as the customer. Guide to migrate to Defender for Office 365 as well. Note that migration guide is more than just a migration guide. There's also background there that explains how to work with some of the tools that maybe you're not working with today, how to pilot using enhanced filtering, many of the different aspects that we would have someone do when they're migrating. It's worth reviewing to make sure you have all of your features configured as you need them. We also have our SecOps guide. We have the link to the session from Pierre and Mahesh. And rounding it out, we have a link to Heike's Ninja Show, the Sentinel and Defender XDR virtual ninja training, where there's a guest speaker every month or every couple weeks, I think, is somebody pops up a new session. So yeah, there's a lot of them. If you're not familiar, you have your weekend watches for the next couple months already set aside for you.
Yeah, many hours.
Absolutely.
Cool. Sorry that we didn't get enough time to do the questions, but me and Paul, thank you for joining us. It has been a pleasure, Paul, to talk to you.
Likewise, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody hopping on today. Keep the discussion going. Utilize the technical communities. Use the forums there. Review the blogs whenever they're coming out. And yeah, thank you. I'll turn it back over to Emily.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul and Pierre, for being our guests today and for sharing all of this great information with our community. Also, thank you to the Q&A team who helped us with answering the questions and providing so much resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered or other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech community discussion space at aka/MDXDR community. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.